potential is powerful. And so that's what we're talking about. You know what? Let me do a quick interview real quick. Because context is everything. This gentleman looks very serious. Interview him. David Fields, how are you, sir?
I'm just peachy.
Good.
Glad to meet you.
He said peachy. That's like, you know, code for get the heck out of my face. Peachy.
We're in Georgia.
We're in Georgia. Georgia Peach.
You really got David.
Yeah, I got David, don't I? Okay, so David, let me ask you a question. This is a general interview. Right? Ask him general questions, you know, something that's normal. Have you just please respond, you know, to the way you would normally respond to an average question. Have you ever been a drug dealer?
No.
Okay. Have you ever been a pimp?
No.
Okay. Why?
I haven't prepared for that.
You haven't prepared for that career field?
That's correct.
Okay, I see. Have you ever been or have you ever been associated with a terrorist?
Not to my knowledge.
Is there a smile on your face, sir? You know, wouldn't that be wild if a white man was considered a terrorist? What would our media do with that one? I don't think we would know what to do with that one. Well, let me give you an example. I appreciate what he said. He's a very smart man. He said, I haven't prepared for that career field as a pimp or a drug dealer or a terrorist. Well, here's a really logical explanation. Because he wasn't exposed to it. He was not exposed to people in his life that were apothecaries, if you will, or strumpet managers, if you will. He was not exposed to it. Now, what I want us to do is to really think about how ludicrous this sounds, right? You're going up to David, you're asking him, David, you know, you ever been a pimp? He's like, no, a lot of you look like he could never be a pimp, David. Maybe he doesn't look like a pimp. You know, I don't know what you're thinking, but we laughed. I don't know why it gendered a laugh, but let's flip it. And now let's really think about the fact that we expect some of our students to be college bound. When they can count on one finger, that was not a misspoken word, one finger, not on one hand, they can count on one finger the amount of people that they see in their family and neighborhoods who have actually attained a college degree. We're talking about exposure. And so we say, it's ludicrous to think of him being anything other than. But he probably, if I asked him more questions, more ludicrous questions, he probably couldn't think of people in his family that were, well, maybe an uncle or something like that. He was a drug dealer. But, you know, we all have somebody in our family that upsets our, you know, potential of becoming a president. But the bottom line is, for the most part, right, it doesn't make sense. So the laughs that you heard in here earlier, or the giggle reflex, think about a student. You know, think about me. When I grew up, you know, my mom attained her GED. My dad dropped out 9th grade. I don't even know if he completed. He won't tell me the complete story. It's kind of hard to get real information out of that brother. My older brother, the shining example in my life, dropped out of school in the 7th grade. Older brother, I was in the 8th, he was in the 7th. We can figure what was going on there out, right? Dropped out of school in the 7th grade. You know, the bottom line is, I'm an exception. I know I'm an exception. That's a very real concept to me. You know, when I asked my wife, when we got married, you know, I've been married 6 years now, and I asked her, I said, honey, I said, why did you go to college? She looked at me like she could not understand the question. Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Like, what motivated you to go to college? She's like, what do you, I don't understand. It was expected for me to go to college. My mom and dad met in college. They met at Hampton University. What? I don't understand. Dad's an engineer, mom's a teacher. But for me, it was a decision that I had to make at age 28 to go back, quote back, to college and get a degree. For me, I had to make a decision and a choice at age 28 after the military and the ministry. My wife, it wasn't a thought. It was just something that she did. See, the students that we have in our classrooms and and that you see your principals and assistant principals interact with and that you interact with, their chances are very, very difficult for some of them. And we cannot ever underestimate the value of that. See, if we realize the incredible leap of faith and mind shift that it takes for some of our students to make it, the gravity of our calling as educators becomes as tantamount as that of a firefighter, saving lives, as that of a police person, saving lives, as that of an ER physician, saving lives. And see, we must approach our careers and our vocations with the critical intensity, because when we really expect them to do more, and when we have that knowledge and Socratic encouragement for them to really unlock their minds and unlock the critical thinking skills and abilities, we must not forget that we are in the business of saving lives. You know what I hate? I hate the cliche that has been attached to our teaching profession. What do they say? Well, if you save just one. You know, it's really sad that that's what they think of our job as teachers, that in some neighborhoods it's so tough that if we just save one. You know, it's a really ridiculous cliche. My wife's an attorney, and no one says to her, you know, well, if you just win one case. Sounds stupid, right? My sister-in-law is OBGYN. No one says to her, I know some of you are thinking, you know, well, he really married up, didn't he? OBGYN. That brother. Okay, that's another speech, all right? How to get yourself out of the ghetto by attaching yourself. We won't go there. But the bottom line is, she's an OBGYN and she talks about all the babies that she delivers. No one says to her, well, you know, if you just deliver one baby. I have a friend that's a cop. He works out with me at the gym. No one says to him, you know, if you just catch one thief. The expectations are so much higher for people in other professions. Why do they want us to settle? I don't understand that they really want us to settle. You know, education should be a long-term buffer for many of life's ailments. What do they say? The majority of people in prison have what? No diploma. The majority of the world doesn't understand, and specifically here in America, that education is that ounce of prevention instead of the pound of cure of all the bad policies that follow. You know, a lot of you hear about Baltimore, you know. Several years ago, I let my students read a paper. It said the title of it was Baltimore Doesn't Work Because Its People Don't. You know how many shows come out about everybody I meet, oh, you know, The Wire, I've seen The Wire, man, those people are crazy. How many shows come out about Baltimore and its education system and its drugs and its crime? The Wire, HBO, right? The Corner, you guys remember that? Homicide. These are all shows produced. Recently, someone just told me about it. Yeah, there's a documentary on HBO about a particular high school. It's all true. And in many cases, it's worse. 50% of the employable people in Baltimore City do not work. 50% of the employable people do not work. Of course that has an impact. Of course. One day we'll finally get it.